I just bought 200 acres of raw land for $2,000. Yeah, $2,000. 48 hours later, some lady from the HOA family living next door storms across the dirt in designer heels like she owns the place. She shoves a binder in my face and goes,
"You owe our homeowners association $15,000 in back dues and violations."
I look around. Nothing. Just wind, grass, and a couple of cows staring at us like, what the hell is this? No houses except theirs. No fences. No roads. Literally empty prairie. She says,
"The previous owner signed an agreement with our family's HOA."
I pull out my deed.
Lady, this is my land. There is no HOA here.
She smirks like she's about to win. Big mistake. Because this diesel mechanic just turned their little family scam into a federal nightmare. What would you do if an HOA family tried to shake you down on vacant land? Here's how I ended up owning more land than some small towns for the price of a decent motorcycle. 3 weeks ago, I'm under a Peterbilt, grease-coating my knuckles, when my phone buzzes. Grandfather died. Left me 50 grand. Most people would buy a new truck. Me? I wanted out of this diesel-soaked life. 12 years fixing engines, breathing exhaust fumes, feeling my spine compress every day. The constant smell of WD-40 and hydraulic fluid was killing me slowly. I had a dream. Organic farming. Trade motor oil for actual dirt. Found this government land auction online. 200.3 acres. Agricultural parcel, Nebraska. Back taxes, $2,000. Saturday morning, I drive out. Windows down, gravel crunching under my tires, meadowlarks singing. Rolling hills, rich black soil, old fence posts marking perfect boundaries. I can already picture corn rows stretching to the horizon. Monday auction. One other bidder drops out after 10 minutes. Boom. $2,000, 200 acres, done deal. Too good to be true? Yeah, definitely. Wednesday, I'm back walking my property when I spot this massive California-style mansion sitting on manicured grounds about a quarter-mile east. Circular driveway, trimmed hedges, lawn that probably costs more to maintain than my annual salary. Through the window, I can see some guy in a polo shirt typing away at a computer. Red flag number 1. I'm testing soil samples, that mineral taste of rich earth on my fingers, when I hear it. Click, click, click. Designer heels on hard dirt. This blonde woman marches toward me like she's serving a warrant. "Are you the new property owner?" she asks, extending a manicured hand. "I'm Brinley Fairmont, president of the Meadowbrook Estates Homeowners Association." President? I look around. One house, hers, lots of empty space. "How many homes are in your association?" 12 beautiful properties, she says with this practiced smile. "My husband Chadwick and I moved here from California. He works in tech, remote, you know. We've really brought some standards to this area." Standards. To farmland that's been here since before she was born. She whips out this thick binder that reeks of fresh printer ink. "This property has always been part of our homeowners association. Ma'am, this is agricultural land, been farmland since the 60s. She flips through pages like a prosecutor. "Previous owner agreed to monthly dues. You're inheriting those obligations." "How much?" $15,000 in back dues, plus $750 monthly going forward. I actually laugh. "You want HOA fees on empty farmland?" That's when I see it. This little smirk. Like she's done this dance before. Like she thinks I'm just another mark. "These covenants are legally binding," she says, and her overpowering lavender perfume clashes with the honest prairie smells, making my gut churn. "We'll file liens if necessary. Contact county commissioners. Make this very difficult for you." She hands me printed emails supposedly from the previous landowner, but something's off. Weird formatting, sketchy timestamps, amateur hour forgery. I need to see actual legal documents. Suddenly evasive. "They're filed with the county. Look them up yourself." Then she just walks away, heels clicking back to her mansion, leaving me with obvious fake paperwork. But here's what really got me. She threatened liens, legal action, county involvement, on a guy she'd known for exactly 3 minutes. That's not confused neighbor behavior, that's predator behavior. See, I might just be a diesel mechanic from Montana, but I wasn't born yesterday. I grew up where handshake deals still mean something and people don't try to steal your land with fake paperwork. This woman, this self-appointed president of 12 houses, just declared war on the wrong guy. That night, Lying in bed with the taste of her threats still bitter in my mouth, it hits me. If she's trying this on me, how many other rural landowners have her and Chadwick scammed? Time to do some homework. First stop, county courthouse. If there are real HOA documents, they'd be recorded there. If not, well, then I know exactly what I'm dealing with. A professional con artist couple who picked the wrong mark. Thursday morning, I wake up to a certified letter on my kitchen table. Yeah, she hand-delivered it. To my house. 40 miles away. I rip it open and it's like Christmas morning for lawyers. Official letterhead, fancy legal language, the whole 9 yards. Notice of violation and assessment in bold letters that smell like fresh printer toner and desperation. $15,000 in back dues, plus penalties, plus interest, plus a $200 processing fee for this very letter. The ball's on this woman. But she's not stopping there. Filed a formal complaint with the county claiming my land violates agricultural use restrictions. Posted on Nextdoor about the suspicious new landowner ignoring community standards. Even got 3 other HOA families to sign some petition about my disruption to neighborhood harmony. Disruption? I haven't even planted anything yet. I'm reading this thinking, what planet is she from? So I drive straight to the courthouse, gravel crunching under my boots as I march up those stone steps. The morning air tastes like rain and trouble. The county clerk is this elderly woman named Dolores, who's worked there since Moses was in diapers. Bifocals on a chain, zero tolerance for bullshit, fingers stained with decades of ink from filing documents. You're here about the Fairmont situation, she says before I even speak. How'd you know? Honey, you're the 4th person this month asking about property records after dealing with that woman. 4th person. That hits me like a wrench to the gut. Dolores spreads documents across the counter like she's dealing cards in Vegas. The papers smell musty, official, real, unlike Brinley's fresh-printed nonsense. First up, my deed. Clear as day. Agricultural exemption, established 1967. My grandfather always told me to check courthouse records before trusting anyone's word about property rights, and damn if he wasn't right. Second document. Original survey from when this land was first parceled. No mention of Meadowbrook Estates anywhere, just farmland stretching to the horizon. Third document gets interesting. Brinley's actual HOA filing from 2 years ago. 12 properties clustered around her house like satellites. My land? Not included. Not even close. Your property predates their development by 40 years, Dolores explains, tapping the papers with a gnarled finger. It's like trying to retroactively add the moon to your backyard. And then she leans close, coffee breath mixing with old paper smell. That Fairmont woman's been here 6 times in the past month trying to get your deed amended. Amended how? Wants to add your parcel to their HOA covenant. Claims she has owner permission. My blood pressure spikes. I never gave permission for anything. Course not, but she brought paperwork claiming you did. Dolores slides another document across the worn wooden counter. Property owner consent form, with my name typed at the bottom and what's supposed to be my signature. I've never seen this paper before in my life, and that signature looks like a drunk 3rd grader tried to forge it with their wrong hand. She attempted fraud, I say. Attempted being the key word. I didn't file it because something stank worse than week-old fish in July. Now I've got her dead to rights on forgery. I drive home and immediately start my counterattack. Post no trespassing signs along our shared property line. The metallic clang of the post hole digger probably carries all the way to her kitchen window. Begins soil testing for my actual farming operation, making it crystal clear this land's getting used for agriculture whether Princess Brinley likes it or not. The rich black earth feels good between my fingers. Honest work, honest dirt. That afternoon, my phone rings. Unknown number. Mr. Graham, this is Patricia from Meadowbrook Property Management. You have outstanding dues requiring immediate payment. Property management? That's new. Lady, I don't owe anybody anything. Sir, our records show $17,000 in assessments, including late fees and collection costs. The number keeps growing. This morning, 15 grand, now 17. What's your company address? We're located at, let me check, 4578 Business Center Drive, Suite 210. I Google it while she talks. UPS store. A freaking mailbox. Ma'am, that's a UPS store. Long pause. Sir, you need to pay these assessments or... Click. I hang up. That evening, I'm on my porch with a beer, watching the sunset paint my land golden when I hear an engine. Black Tesla cruising slowly past my fence like a shark circling. Driver's wearing a polo shirt, that's Chadwick. He parks right at my property line and just stares. For 20 minutes. Windows down, taking pictures of my house, my truck, my life. I wave. He doesn't wave back. Time to call the sheriff. Deputy Reynolds shows up next morning. Good old boy who's dealt with property disputes for 20 years. I show him the harassment timeline, the fake documents, the escalating threats. This isn't the first complaint about the Fairmonts, he says, adjusting his hat brim against the morning sun. We've had reports about them pressuring other landowners. Reports? 3 families in 2 years paid them money before figuring out the scam. One elderly farmer handed over $8,000 before his family intervened. That's when it hits me like a sledgehammer. This isn't about my property anymore. This is about stopping a pattern of rural fraud that's been flying under the radar. Brinley and Chadwick just picked a fight with the wrong diesel mechanic. Friday morning, I'm having coffee when another letter shows up. Not certified this time, just slapped under my windshield wiper like a parking ticket. This one's from Meadowbrook Property Services, LLC, demanding immediate payment of $1,847, monthly. The smell of fresh ink mixed with morning dew makes my stomach turn. For what exactly? Landscaping assessment, road maintenance, community security, and administrative overhead. I look out at my dirt road that hasn't seen maintenance since the Carter administration. What landscaping? The only security out here is my shotgun and whatever coyotes are keeping the rabbits honest. But here's the kicker. They're threatening collection action and credit reporting if I don't pay within 10 days. I call the number. Rings twice. Meadowbrook Services, this is Devin. Yeah, I got your bill. What exactly am I paying for? Sir, you're assessed for community services based on your property size and usage classification. Usage classification? Large agricultural parcel, high impact designation. I actually laugh, the sound echoing across empty prairie. Buddy, there's literally nothing here but grass and cow shit. Sir, the assessment stands. Will you be paying by check or credit card? What's your business address? Long pause. We're located in Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix. They're billing me for Nebraska Community Services from 1,000 miles away. I hang up and start digging. Meadowbrook Property Services, LLC, incorporated 3 weeks ago. Registered agent? Devin Fairmont, same last name. Brother-in-law, turns out. It's a family business. The business address leads to another UPS store mailbox. My grandfather always said fake management companies can't create real debt, but they sure can make your life hell trying. But then I find the Better Business Bureau complaints, and my blood runs cold. 5 different property owners from 3 states, all describing identical scams, fake HOA bills, lien threats, harassment campaigns. One guy in Colorado paid $12,000 over 8 months. A family in Arizona got taken for 2 years before discovering their HOA was completely fabricated. That's when it hits me. These aren't confused neighbors. They're professional interstate con artists. That afternoon, I'm checking fence posts when the Tesla returns. Chadwick's got backup. Brinley walking her German Shepherd along my property line, unleashed. The dog, accidentally, wanders onto my land and tramples through my test plantings. $20 worth of heritage corn seeds destroyed. Ma'am, your dog's on my property. Oh, is he? Pure innocence. Come here, Brutus. The dog takes his sweet time, marking my fence post. Sharp ammonia smell mixing with crushed corn leaves. They're literally pissing on my investment. Sorry about that, Brinley chirps, but she's smiling. I pull out my phone and start recording. Are you filming me? She demands. Just documenting trespassing and property damage. Her mask slips. This is harassment. No, ma'am. This is evidence collection. Chadwick emerges from his climate-controlled cockpit. Designer everything, shoes that scream, I've never worked a day. Starts to puff up, then sees me, 6'2", shoulders built from wrestling truck engines, and thinks better of it. Just keep your recording to yourself, he mutters. It's my property. I'll record whatever I want. They retreat, but not before Brutus leaves a gift next to my mailbox. That evening, I call Deputy Reynolds. He agrees to meet at the diner in town. They're escalating, I tell him over coffee that tastes like motor oil. Found out they're running this scam in multiple states. How many? At least 3 confirmed. Same pattern, same fake companies. Reynolds leans forward, voice dropping. Marcus, this isn't the first complaint we've had about the Fairmonts. 3 families in the past 2 years paid them money before moving away. One elderly farmer, Henderson, you might know him, paid $8,000 before his son figured out the scam and intervened. Henderson. I bought seed from his place last spring. They've been running this pattern, Reynolds continues. Target rural landowners near new developments, create fake HOA authority, bilk people until they either pay up or leave. Why hasn't anyone stopped them? Most folks just paid to avoid hassle, then moved on. You're the first one who figured it out fast enough to fight back. That's when it clicks. This isn't about my land anymore. If they succeed here, every rural property owner near suburban expansion becomes a target. Reynolds slides a business card across the table. FBI Fraud Division. Agent Santos specializes in rural property crimes. I already gave her a heads up. Federal agents. For fake HOA fees. But looking at the pattern, mail fraud, wire fraud, interstate conspiracy, it all makes sense. Brinley and Chadwick think they found another easy mark. What they found was the guy who's going to end their criminal enterprise. Monday morning, I wake up to red and blue lights flashing through my bedroom window. 2 patrol cars in my driveway at 6 a.m. That metallic taste of adrenaline hits my mouth as I throw on clothes and head outside. Deputy Reynolds is walking toward my door with this expression that says somebody's day is about to get ruined. Mine. Marcus, we got a problem. Brinley filed a police report claiming I threatened violence during our recording session. According to her sworn statement, I was aggressively wielding farming tools in a threatening manner and made implied threats about defending my property with force. She's got video evidence. Reynolds shows me the footage on his tablet. Grainy phone video of me holding a pitchfork, shot from a low angle that makes me look like I'm advancing toward the camera. The timestamp shows yesterday afternoon. She's claiming you threatened her with that pitchfork, Reynolds says. I watch myself on screen, looking like some deranged farmer from a slasher movie. What the video doesn't show is that I was moving hay bales 30 feet from where she stood. The camera angle and editing make it look like I'm stalking toward her when I was actually working in the opposite direction. This is edited footage, I tell him. I figured. You got anything from that day? Thank God for trail cameras. I pull up my security footage from the same time frame. Continuous recording, multiple angles, no cuts. The real story unfolds on my laptop screen. There's Brinley, deliberately walking onto my property. There's me, moving hay, minding my own business. There's her circling closer to my work area, then pulling out her phone to film from the most dramatic angle possible. Reynolds watches the genuine footage, the smell of fresh coffee mixing with morning dew as we stand on my porch. She manipulated evidence for a false police report. That's a felony. We file an incident report documenting the inconsistencies in complainant's video. But the damage is done. I'm now officially under investigation for harassment. 6 hours later, it gets worse. I'm replacing fence posts when 2 cars pull up to my property line. Not the Tesla. A minivan and a sedan with out-of-state plates. 4 people emerge like some suburban SWAT team. 2 middle-aged couples dressed for church, all carrying notebooks and professional cameras. They spread along my fence line and start photographing everything. My truck, my house, me swinging a post hole digger. "What are you folks doing?" I call out. A woman in her 50s approaches my fence. "We're documenting unsafe conditions for the Neighborhood Safety Committee." Neighborhood Safety Committee. That's creative. What unsafe conditions? Improper storage of agricultural equipment, potential environmental hazards from fuel storage, and documented aggressive behavior toward community members. I look around. My tractor's legally parked in my driveway. My fuel tank is regulation approved and recently inspected. The only aggressive behavior is coming from people trying to steal my land. "Ma'am, you're taking pictures on my property without permission." "This is for community safety," she says, like those 3 words justify anything. I pull out my phone and start recording them. Suddenly, they're not so comfortable being documented. "You can't film us without consent," one man protests. "Actually, I can. You're trespassing." Smile. They retreat to the road but continue their photo shoot, complete with serious expressions and official clipboards. 20 minutes of staged documentation designed to make me look dangerous. After they leave, I run the license plates. 3 of the 12 families in Brinley's fake HOA. She's building a witness list. That evening, my phone explodes. Unknown numbers, back-to-back calls. Is this Graham? We heard you're threatening neighbors. Channel 7 News here. Care to comment on allegations of menacing behavior? This is Attorney Johnson representing concerned homeowners who feel unsafe. 8 calls in 3 hours. Someone's orchestrating a character assassination campaign. But here's where they overplayed their hand. I call Sarah Hedrick, the farmers' rights attorney Reynolds recommended. 20 years fighting rural property scams, and she recognizes this playbook immediately. They're trying to flip the narrative, Sarah explains, her voice carrying the weight of experience. Make you the aggressor so they can justify everything they've done. Classic harassment reversal. Is that legal? The attempt is legal. The coordination of false statements isn't. If they're organizing fake witness testimony, that's conspiracy. Sarah takes my case that afternoon, pro bono, because she's been waiting for the right case to make an example of interstate property scammers. 3 days later, she hits me with news that changes everything. I subpoenaed their financial records, she says, spreading documents across her conference table. $47,000 in collected dues over 2 years, 0 legitimate expenses, no contracts, no services, no community improvements. Every penny went to personal accounts. So it's theft. It's organized theft. But here's the kicker. I ran background checks. Brinley and Chadwick fled California 18 months ago, 1 step ahead of fraud investigators. Left behind $30,000 in unpaid contractor bills and real HOA assessments. The pieces fall into place like tumblers in a lock. This isn't their first rodeo. They're career criminals who moved to rural Nebraska specifically to find new victims. They picked the wrong mark this time, Sarah says, gathering the evidence. Mail fraud, wire fraud, interstate conspiracy, evidence tampering. The FBI's going to have a field day. That night, I sit on my porch listening to coyotes howl in the distance, thinking about all the families they've scammed before me. Tomorrow, we start building the case that ends their criminal enterprise. The smoking gun comes from the last place I expected, a musty basement that smells like 50 years of government paperwork and forgotten secrets. Sarah's doing legal research when Dolores mentions something that stops us cold. You know, that Fairmont woman was real interested in the original deed restrictions from the 1960s, kept asking about agricultural protection status. Agricultural protection status? That phrase hits me like a wrench to the stomach. We follow Dolores down creaky wooden stairs to the records archive. The air down here tastes stale and official, like old leather and bureaucratic dust. She pulls out a filing box that weighs more than a truck battery. Rural zoning 1960-1970, she says, setting it on a scarred wooden table. Inside, we find the Holy Grail. My land doesn't just predate their subdivision. It has permanent agricultural protection written into the original 1967 deed. The weight of this document in my hands feels like holding a winning lottery ticket and a get-out-of-jail-free card rolled into one. Any attempt to include protected agricultural land in a residential HOA constitutes deed fraud under Nebraska law, Sarah reads, her voice getting that excited lawyer tone. The previous landowner never had authority to agree to HOA terms. Every fake document Brinley showed me? Legally worthless. Then Dolores drops the real bomb. Found something else, she whispers, sliding a manila folder across the table like she's dealing contraband. 3 days before your auction, someone tried to file a deed amendment. The document inside makes my blood run cold. There's Elmer Wickham's signature at the bottom, supposedly agreeing to add my property to the HOA covenant. One problem. I Google Elmer Wickham's obituary right there on my phone. Died 6 months before this document was supposedly signed. They forged a dead man's signature, I breathe, the metallic taste of pure rage filling my mouth. Gets better, Dolores continues. The filing was submitted electronically from an IP address traced back to the Fairmont residence. They tried to steal your land before you even bought it. Sarah's eyes light up like Christmas morning. Premeditated federal wire fraud. They researched your purchase, identified legal vulnerabilities, and attempted to create false authority 3 days in advance. The next hour unfolds like a masterclass in criminal stupidity. Sarah's forensic accountant has traced their operation across 3 states, Colorado, 4 families, $23,000 stolen over 18 months. Arizona, 6 families, $31,000 before they fled. Nebraska, 5 families so far, $47,000 in fake fees. Total estimated fraud, $180,000 from 15 rural families who just wanted to be left alone. They're not just scammers, Sarah says, the evidence folders creating a satisfying thud as she stacks them. They're career criminals with a business model targeting rural America. The power just shifted completely in my favor. I'm not some confused farmer trying to understand fake HOA rules anymore. I'm holding evidence that can destroy an interstate fraud ring and send 2 career criminals to federal prison. Agricultural protection trumps any residential covenant. That's settled law, Sarah explains as we climb back upstairs, our footsteps echoing off courthouse marble. But electronically filing forged documents? That's federal wire fraud, 5 to 20 years. The plan crystallizes as we walk back to her car. Let them think they're winning while we build an airtight case. Set up a controlled scenario where they commit crimes with federal agents watching. They don't know we found the deed fraud, Sarah says, starting her engine. That's our ace in the hole. I drive home thinking about how this started with some entitled suburbanite demanding fake fees on my empty land. Now it ends with federal agents, criminal indictments, and justice for every rural family they've robbed. The hunter just became the hunted, and they have no idea what's coming. Sarah explains the legal strategy over coffee that tastes like it's been brewing since the Carter administration, steam rising between us like battle plans taking shape. Wire fraud statute is beautiful, she says, spreading law books across the sticky diner table. Every fraudulent bill sent electronically equals a separate federal offense. We need them to commit one more crime with FBI agents watching. The plan crystallizes like a diesel engine coming together piece by piece. I announce a fake Nebraska Agricultural Excellence Inspection for next Friday. Post it on the bulletin board at Miller's Hardware. Mention it loud enough at the feed store for gossip to spread faster than crop disease. The bait. State evaluators carrying $50,000 in cash grants for qualifying organic operations. Greed makes smart people stupid, Sarah explains, the smell of bacon grease mixing with legal strategy. They'll see that money and forget every careful instinct they've developed. Technical surveillance requires professional help. I hire Rodriguez Security, former cop who understands courtroom evidence standards. The metallic whir of his drill echoes off my barn walls as he installs hidden cameras at 5 strategic angles. Chain of custody is everything, Rodriguez explains, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool morning air. DIY recordings get thrown out of court. Professional installation with certified timestamps? That's evidence that convicts people. $3,000 for the equipment, but watching him explain legal standards makes it feel like the investment of a lifetime. These cameras will capture footage that holds up in federal court. Always use professionally installed surveillance for legal evidence, because homemade security might protect your property but won't put criminals in prison. While Rodriguez works, I rally community support. Saturday barbecue on my land, grilling burgers and letting neighbors see I'm not the dangerous lunatic Brinley's been painting me as. 7 families show up, and the stories start flowing like beer from a tap. Kowalski's paid $400 monthly for voluntary community improvements. DeLucas handed over $1,800 for emergency road maintenance on roads still full of potholes deep enough to swallow a small car. We thought it was legitimate, Mrs. Kowalski admits, her voice carrying the weight of embarrassment thicker than the charcoal smoke drifting between us. She had official paperwork, new legal terms that made us feel stupid for questioning anything. Total neighborhood losses, $23,000. Money that could have actually improved our community instead of funding Brinley's designer lifestyle. The solidarity feels physical. Neighbors finally able to admit they got conned, united in wanting justice that tastes sweeter than perfectly grilled corn on the cob. She made us feel guilty for resisting, Mr. DeLuca says, crushing his beer can with the force of 2 years' worth of suppressed anger. Like bad neighbors if we didn't pay up immediately. That's their psychological weapon. Turn theft into social obligation. Next phase, setting the bait. Tuesday morning at Miller's Hardware, I accidentally mentioned the inspection while buying fence posts. Discussed the $50,000 grant loud enough for half the store to overhear, knowing Brinley shops there every week like clockwork. State only does this assessment once annually, I tell the clerk, projecting my voice just enough. Federal agriculture funding deadlines, something about budget cycles. The psychology is simple: massive cash prize, immediate deadline, any interference disqualifies applicants. Betting Brinley's greed overcomes her recent legal caution. Law enforcement coordination feels like precision machinery. Deputy Reynolds connects us with FBI agent Patricia Santos, rural fraud specialist who's tracked interstate property scams from California to Maine for 3 years. Your evidence fits patterns we've documented nationwide, Agent Santos explains over secure phone, her voice carrying the authority of federal law enforcement. Small-scale rural targeting, fake authority structures, harassment until compliance. You're the first victim with enough documentation to build prosecutable conspiracy charges. Arrest logistics synchronized like a military operation. Agent Santos positions undercover surveillance disguised as county road maintenance. Local farmer Bob Trestic volunteers as fake state inspector, actually worked for Nebraska Department of Agriculture before retiring, knows every technical term and regulation by heart. Act natural when they approach, Agent Santos instructs during our coordination meeting, the taste of coffee and justice mixing on my tongue. Document everything they say, stay calm during bribery attempts, let them commit federal crimes on camera. Personal preparation feels like training for the biggest job of my life. Practice staying cool under pressure, remembering 12 years diagnosing engine problems while truckers scream deadlines. Pressure doesn't break me. It sharpens my focus like a perfectly tuned wrench. Bob and I rehearse the inspection scenario until it flows naturally. He brings official clipboards, soil testing gear, even borrowed his old department truck. The weight of authentic equipment in our hands feels like holding justice itself. Realism is everything, Bob explains, testing his wireless microphone. When they interfere with state business, we want their exact words recorded clearly enough for a jury to hear their criminal intent. Friday morning, all pieces align. Professional surveillance, federal agents, coordinated law enforcement, media standing by to document the takedown of an interstate fraud operation, all triggered by 2 career criminals who thought they could steal from a diesel mechanic. Sometimes justice is just giving criminals enough rope to hang themselves. Wednesday morning, I'm testing soil samples when I overhear exactly what I was hoping for. Brinley's at Miller's Hardware, pumping the clerk for information about my state inspection. Her voice carries that fake casual tone people use when they're fishing for intelligence while pretending to shop for garden hoses. So this agriculture grant Graham mentioned, she says, how much money are we talking about? $50,000 from what I heard, the clerk replies. Something about federal organic farming incentives. I can practically hear the cash register sounds going off in her head from 3 aisles away, the smell of fertilizer and desperation mixing in the stale hardware store air. She takes the bait like a starving fish hitting dynamite. But there's something else happening. Through the store window, I watch Chadwick sitting in their Tesla, talking animatedly on his phone. His body language screams panic, hands gesturing wildly, face red with stress. Their mortgage payment on that oversized house must be coming due. Sarah's forensic accountant discovered their accounts are nearly frozen pending the fraud investigation. They're financially desperate, which makes people dangerous. That afternoon, my phone rings. Meadowbrook Property Management, but this time the voice sounds frayed, barely holding together. Mr. Graham, we need immediate resolution of your outstanding obligations before any state inspections occur. I thought we settled this. I don't owe you people anything. Sir, if state evaluators discover property covenant violations, you'll be disqualified from grant programs. We're offering final settlement, $15,000 cash, and we clear all violations from your record. Settlement? They've never used that word before. The desperation tastes metallic, like fear mixed with greed. I'll consider it, I tell them, hanging up before they can grovel further. Thursday night, they cross the line into felony territory. I wake up to the acrid smell of diesel fuel wafting through my bedroom window. Someone's poured petroleum across my test corn plots, 20 rows of heritage seeds, poisoned. The chemical stench burns my nostrils as I survey $3,000 in crop damage, but my trail cameras captured everything in perfect infrared clarity. 2 figures moving systematically through my fields with a 5-gallon container, faces clearly visible in night vision detail. Brinley and a man I don't recognize, probably that brother-in-law Devin from Phoenix. Agricultural sabotage, environmental contamination, federal destruction of property charges, stacking up like cordwood. The dying plants crunch under my boots as I document the damage. Each poisoned seedling represents months of planning destroyed by desperate criminals who think property damage will solve their problems. I call Sarah immediately. "They've escalated to agricultural terrorism," she says, after reviewing the footage. "Federal sentencing guidelines add 5 years for crop destruction. They're looking at serious prison time now." Should I confront them? Let them keep digging. Every crime makes our case stronger. Thursday evening brings psychological warfare. My phone explodes with fake authority calls. "Marcus, this is investigative reporter Johnson, Channel 7. We received reports about your threatening behavior toward neighbors." "Attorney Morrison here. I represent homeowners filing environmental hazard complaints against your property." Sheriff's Department. Multiple reports of suspicious agricultural activities requiring immediate investigation. 8 calls in 3 hours. But these aren't real professionals. The sheriff call came from a California area code. The attorney couldn't provide a bar number. The reporter hung up when I asked for credentials. They're impersonating law enforcement, legal professionals, and media. Federal identity fraud charges joining their growing collection of felonies. The taste of their desperation is bitter and satisfying, like coffee grounds mixed with justice. Friday morning, inspection day, I wake to find 3 rental cars positioned along my fence like a suburban invasion force. 6 people with professional cameras and official-looking clipboards, staging what appears to be a legitimate documentation operation. My security system pings constantly. Motion alerts, camera activations, audio pickups capturing every whispered conversation as they prepare their final gambit. At 9 a.m. sharp, Bob Trestick arrives in his borrowed agriculture department truck. The FBI surveillance van, perfectly disguised as county road maintenance, positions with clear sight lines to document everything. Bob begins his inspection performance, testing soil and measuring boundaries with government bureaucrat precision that would make the IRS proud. Within minutes, Brinley appears like a suburban storm front. 4 people march across my property line, Brinley, Chadwick, and 2 men who scream, "Hired muscle" in polo shirts, all heading straight for Bob with the kind of aggressive confidence that comes from thinking you're untouchable. "Are you the state agriculture inspector?" Brinley demands, her voice carrying across the morning air like a battle cry. "Yes, ma'am," Bob replies calmly. "Routine assessment for federal grant eligibility." "This property operates under homeowners association restrictions," she announces, brandishing her familiar binder like a weapon. "State inspections require our prior authorization." The 2 strangers position themselves to physically block Bob's equipment access. Professional intimidation tactics that would make the mob proud. "Ma'am, I'm conducting official state business," Bob says, maintaining perfect bureaucratic calm. "Not without our permission," Chadwick snarls, stepping closer. "That's when I know we've got them cold. Federal obstruction of government operations on camera with FBI agents recording every word." The trap just snapped shut with the sound of prison doors closing. What happens next unfolds like a masterclass in criminal stupidity. Brinley pulls Bob aside, thinking she's being discreet, but my cameras are picking up every word from 50 yards away. The morning breeze carries her voice like she's using a megaphone. "Look, we can make this worth your while," she says, glancing around nervously. $8,000 cash to find violations and reject his application. Bob plays it perfectly. "Ma'am, are you asking me to falsify a government report?" "I'm asking you to be thorough about irregularities," she replies, the desperation in her voice thick as diesel smoke. "Just say the soil is contaminated or something." Federal bribery of a government official, on camera, with FBI agents recording every syllable. But they're not done digging their grave. Chadwick approaches from the other side, pulling out an envelope thick with cash. "There's 10 grand here if you walk away right now. Tell your supervisors the property failed inspection." "Sir, that's attempted bribery of a federal inspector," Bob says loudly enough for the cameras. "It's a consulting fee," Chadwick backpedals, but the damage is done. The 2 hired guys, turns out they're actually legitimate contractors Brinley recruited from Omaha, start getting uncomfortable when they realize what they're witnessing. One pulls out his phone and starts recording, probably thinking he needs evidence to protect himself. "Lady, we thought this was about property surveys," one says, the smell of his nervous sweat mixing with morning dew. "Nobody said anything about bribing government officials." Brinley's panic becomes visible. Her perfectly applied makeup starts running as stress sweat breaks through her foundation. It's not bribery, it's property management consultation. That's when she makes her fatal mistake. She produces a stack of documents claiming to be official state findings about environmental violations on my property. Government letterhead, official seals, signatures from Nebraska Department of Agriculture inspectors. All completely fabricated. Bob recognizes the real inspector signatures. They're his former colleagues. Ma'am, these are forgeries. I know these inspectors personally, and they never conducted assessments on this property. Those are legitimate state documents, Brinley insists, doubling down on obvious lies. The inspector whose name is on this report died 2 years ago, Bob replies calmly. Dead silence. Even the meadowlarks stop singing, forging federal documents, with witnesses, on camera, while attempting to bribe a government official. The contractors immediately step back, wanting distance from whatever legal disaster they've stumbled into. We're out, one announces, heading for their rental cars. This is way above our pay grade. But Brinley's desperation reaches new heights. As the contractors flee, she turns to direct threats. If you file a positive report, she tells Bob, you'll face lawsuits, harassment, and worse. We know where you live. Threatening a federal inspector. Another felony, captured in high-definition audio and video. Chadwick, apparently realizing his wife is burying them both, tries damage control. What my wife means is we're concerned about proper procedures being followed. Your wife just threatened a government official, Bob states matter-of-factly. That's when I see movement from the surveillance van. Agent Santos is talking into her radio, coordinating with backup units that must be positioned nearby. The community witnesses are gathering too. Kowalski and DeLuca families have positioned themselves at safe distances, documenting everything on their phones. Other neighbors start appearing. Word spreads fast in rural areas when something big is happening. Brinley notices the audience and completely loses her composure. You people don't understand what's at stake here. This property threatens our entire community investment. She starts ranting about property values, community standards, and her right to protect neighborhood integrity, every word digging deeper into federal conspiracy charges. We've invested too much to let some farmer with a $2,000 land purchase destroy our development plans, she shouts. Development plans? That's the first time she's admitted this isn't about existing HOA fees. It's about future development rights they're trying to steal. Chadwick tries to pull her away. Brinley, stop talking. But she's beyond rational thought. We had agreements with the previous landowner. This property was supposed to be part of our expansion. What agreements? Bob asks, still maintaining his inspector role perfectly. She produces more documents, purchase contracts, development permits, zoning change applications, all listing my property as committed to residential development under HOA covenant, all completely fraudulent. Ma'am, Bob says, examining the papers, these documents claim authority your HOA never possessed. This is conspiracy to commit fraud. The final piece falls into place. They weren't just running a billing scam, they were planning to forcibly acquire rural properties for a development scheme, using fake legal authority to steal land they couldn't buy legitimately. Agent Santos's voice crackles over Bob's hidden radio. All units, move in. The sound of multiple engines approaching fills the morning air. Sheriff's vehicles from 3 directions, FBI units, state police backup. Brinley's face goes white as she realizes what's happening. This was a setup. Yes, ma'am, I say, stepping out from behind my barn where I've been watching everything unfold. And you just confessed to federal conspiracy charges. The look of absolute shock on her face as handcuffs click into place? Priceless. The next 15 minutes unfold like the finale of every crime drama you've ever watched, except this is real life and I'm standing in the middle of it. Agent Santos emerges from the surveillance van in full FBI gear, badge gleaming in the morning sunlight. Brinley Fairmont, you're under arrest for federal mail fraud, wire fraud, and conspiracy to commit property theft. The metallic click of handcuffs echoes across my property as Brinley's wrists are secured behind her back. The sound of justice finally arriving tastes sweeter than fresh brewed coffee on a cold morning. Chadwick tries to run. He makes it exactly 20 yards before Deputy Reynolds tackles him into my freshly tilled soil. Watching a tech bro in designer jeans get face-planted into honest farm dirt by a rural sheriff deputy is probably the most satisfying thing I've seen since my first successful engine rebuild. Chadwick Fairmont, you're under arrest for the same charges, plus attempted bribery of a federal official, Agent Santos announces as they haul him upright, black dirt coating his polo shirt like justice camouflage. Both suspects are loaded into separate FBI vehicles, and that's when I notice the crowd. Word travels fast in rural communities. A dozen neighbors have gathered along my property line, watching the arrest with the kind of satisfaction usually reserved for harvest festivals and high school football victories. Mrs. Kowalski starts clapping, then Mr. DeLuca joins in. Within seconds, spontaneous applause breaks out among people who've been victims of this scam for 2 years. The sound of genuine community celebration fills the morning air. Local news arrives just as the FBI vehicles are pulling away. Channel 7's van screeches into my driveway, followed by 2 other stations that must have been monitoring police scanners. This is Linda Martinez, Channel 7 News, reporting from rural Lincoln County, where federal agents have just arrested a California couple accused of running an elaborate property fraud scheme targeting rural landowners. The reporter approaches with that predatory enthusiasm journalists get when they smell a story that'll lead the evening news. Mr. Graham, you're the landowner who exposed this fraud ring. What's your message to other rural property owners? I look directly into the camera, feeling the weight of representing every farmer, rancher, and rural landowner who's been targeted by urban scammers. Rural folks might seem like easy targets to city criminals, but we take care of each other out here. Try to steal from one of us, you're stealing from all of us. That soundbite is going to play on every news station in 3 states. Agent Santos steps up for the official law enforcement statement. Today's arrests conclude a multi-state investigation into interstate property fraud. The suspects are charged with wire fraud, mail fraud, conspiracy, bribery, and forgery of federal documents. What are the potential penalties? The reporter asks. Federal charges carry 5 to 20 years in prison. Asset forfeiture will recover stolen funds for victim restitution. The cameras capture Agent Santos holding up evidence bags containing forged documents, fake HOA paperwork, and the cash Chadwick tried to use for bribery. Visual proof of criminal enterprise that'll make excellent courtroom exhibits. But the real victory moment comes when Dolores from the county courthouse arrives with corrected property documents. Mr. Graham, she announces loud enough for cameras to pick up, your agricultural deed restrictions are now permanently protected in county records. No legitimate HOA can ever claim authority over this property. She hands me official documentation while news cameras roll. The weight of those papers in my hands represents security for every rural landowner in the county. The reporter turns back to me. What happens to your farming plans now? I gesture toward my land, 200 acres of rolling hills stretching to the horizon, unmarked by suburban development or fake authority claims. Going to plant corn and soybeans like I planned from day one. This is agricultural land, and it's staying agricultural land. The visual shot is perfect. Me standing on my property with tractors in the background, genuine farmland protected from development scammers, rural values victorious over suburban greed. As the news crews pack up, neighbors start approaching with something I didn't expect, gratitude mixed with relief. You saved us all from paying more fake fees, Mrs. DeLuca says, shaking my hand with the grip of someone who works for a living. How many other rural areas are dealing with these same scams? Mr. Kowalski wonders out loud. That question hangs in the air like morning mist. This case might be over, but the problem is bigger than just Brinley and Chadwick. Agent Santos overhears and approaches our group. We've identified similar operations in 7 states. Your evidence helped us connect cases from California to Maine. 7 states. Dozens of rural families scammed by people who thought country folks were easy marks. This prosecution sends a message, Agent Santos continues. Rural property owners have the same legal protections as anyone else. Maybe more, because agricultural land has special federal safeguards. As the afternoon sun climbs higher, casting long shadows across my property, I realize this story isn't ending. It's beginning. The sound of my tractor starting up for normal farm work has never sounded so good. Justice served, land protected, community stronger. Sometimes the best defense really is a good offense. 6 months later, I'm standing in the same spot where Brinley first threatened me with fake HOA fees. But everything's different now. The corn is waist-high and green as dollar bills, stretching toward a horizon that belongs to me, legally and completely. The smell of growing crops mixed with morning coffee from my thermos tastes like victory seasoned with hard work. Brinley got 4 years federal prison. Chadwick got the same, plus an extra year for attempted flight. Their sentencing hearing was standing room only. Victims from 3 states showed up to watch justice get served with the kind of satisfaction usually reserved for harvest time. The judge ordered $200,000 in restitution. Every family they scammed got their money back with interest. But here's what makes me proudest. The recovered fraud money created a legitimate community improvement fund. $35,000 invested in shared equipment for local farmers, the kind of cooperation they claimed to represent but never delivered. We bought a community seed drill, a hay baler that 3 families share, and funded repairs for the gravel road connecting our properties. Real improvements, done right, paid for with recovered stolen money. My farming operation is thriving beyond my wildest expectations. 40 acres of organic corn yielding 15% above county average, 25 acres of soybeans that'll be ready for harvest next month. That agricultural grant I used as bait? Turns out Nebraska really does have programs for beginning organic farmers. I applied legitimately and received $12,000 for expansion into heritage variety crops. The irony tastes sweeter than fresh, sweet corn. Sarah Hedrick's case became a template for prosecuting rural property fraud nationwide. The Agricultural Property Protection Act passed the Nebraska legislature unanimously, and 3 other states are drafting similar legislation. Federal task forces now investigate rural property scams with the same seriousness they bring to urban financial crimes. Sarah testified before Congress about protecting rural landowners from predatory schemes. Rural America isn't some legal Wild West where city criminals can operate without consequences, she told the House Judiciary Committee. Property rights apply everywhere. My favorite development happened 3 weeks ago. I got a call from Wyoming, another farmer facing similar intimidation from fake HOA claims. Sarah and I drove out to help document their case, sharing strategies that worked here. Turns out fighting back isn't just about protecting your own property. It's about standing up for rural communities everywhere. The Scholarship Fund launches this fall. Rural Justice Scholarship, $5,000 annually for students studying agriculture or law, funded by my court settlement and private donations from neighbors who wanted to contribute. First recipient is Jenny Miller, local high school senior planning agricultural engineering at the University of Nebraska. Her essay about protecting family farms from corporate exploitation made me proud to be part of her education. Personal life took an unexpected turn too. Anna, the agricultural extension agent who helped with my soil testing, and I have been dating since Harvest Festival. Our first official date was at the farmer's market, selling produce side by side. Nothing says romance like competing over who grows better tomatoes. The conservation project covers 20 acres now. Native prairie restoration that attracts declining bird species. University of Nebraska wildlife researchers use it for habitat studies, and local schools bring kids for environmental education tours. Seeing children learn about sustainable agriculture on land I protected from development scammers feels like completing a circle that started with my grandfather's inheritance. But the best part happens every morning when I walk my property line. No more designer heels clicking across gravel. No more fake authority figures demanding money for services that don't exist. Just wind through growing corn, meadowlarks singing from fence posts, and the satisfied exhaustion that comes from honest work on land that belongs to me. Last week, a real estate developer from Omaha called asking if I'd consider selling for residential development. Premium price, immediate cash, full market value. Not interested, I told him. This is agricultural land. Everything's for sale at the right price, he insisted. This isn't. Some things matter more than money, like protecting the rural way of life that built this country, like proving that regular folks can stand up to professional criminals and win, like turning $2,000 and a lot of determination into justice for an entire community. My phone's ringing again. Probably another farmer dealing with property scammers looking for advice on fighting back. Time to share what we learned out here in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska. Because rural folks really do take care of each other.